With Harry Reid stepping down as minority leader of Senate Democrats, many liberals are in fact pushing for Elizabeth Warren to take over. Her representatives are saying that she's currently not interested, nor is she pursuing it. But if she were to pursue it, she already has enemies lined up. Many big banks are not liking her recent call to break them up because of their too big to fail status. Years and years after the economic recession, that status remains. In fact, representatives from Citigroup, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America have met to discuss ways to urge Democrats, including Warren, to soften their party's tone toward Wall Street. They're just being so hard on Wall Street recently. They need to soften that tone. Bank officials said the idea of withholding donations has been raised in one-on-one conversations between representatives of some of them. However, there was no agreement on coordinating any action, and each bank is making its own decision. The amount of money at stake, a maximum of $15,000 per bank, means the gesture is symbolic rather than material. So it's $15,000 worth of them stamping their feet, and they don't like her harsh tone.
Okay, now here's what's actually happening. This is a shot across the bow, and they're saying, like, the 15,000 doesn't matter. We got millions to back this up in independent expenditures, in direct contributions to the campaigns. This is just for the Senate committee, right? And so what they're saying here is, watch yourself, okay? You're going to cost yourself millions upon millions of dollars, and without that money, you might not be able to get reelected. So get back in line and make sure you tell Elizabeth Warren to know her role and to know her place, okay? And if she keeps piping up about breaking up Citigroup and actually coming after, what you're supposed to do is a Chuck Schumer route, where you go, oh, no, tut, the banks have been a little mischievous, and then you go ahead and give them whatever they want anyway, right? Yeah. You have the facade of reform without any actual reform. Now, Elizabeth Warren wants real reform, and we can't have that. We can't abide by that. And this is exactly how the system works, where they pull you aside and they have the talk with you, right? And if you don't do as you're told, it'll have consequences. This is the heart of the corruption of our system.
Can you imagine some of the talks she's had?
With
Democratic leadership?
With Chuck Schumer?
Probably with Schumer,
I'm asking, how do you think that conversation goes? I mean, I understand that you have to have unity in a party, and it's not good to publicly, go against someone, especially a leadership role. But at what point does Elizabeth Warren say, the problem is the Democrats who are sucking up to Wall Street? That's the problem. We don't have two parties anymore in this country. We have one party, it's the corporate party, and it's run by Wall Street. When does she say that? I mean, if you really want to implement an agenda, you have to get rid of the people who are in your way. Right now, Chuck Schumer is enemy number one.
Yeah. She certainly will not say that. And she's playing within the Democratic system. She's a believer in playing within the system, but pushing aggressively while in there. Look, if I was in her place, I would accumulate as much power as possible. I'd make as many allies as possible, so I wouldn't say that Schumer line, to be honest, okay? I wouldn't even say the line about Democrats, but there would come a decision point where you've got to show your true colors.
Yeah.
And so are you with the Democratic Party and part of that same establishment and you're just playing patty cakes? Or are you actually with the people? But you got to get it to a point where you're in a position to make that move. I don't think she's quite in that position yet, but at least she could argue for a leadership position either in the Senate or maybe run for president. You know when you could really make a move? If you're the president of the United States of America.
That's what scares me. So that's sort of what I thought was happening with Barack Obama. That he hasn't been in the Senate that long. He doesn't owe a ton of favors. He can go in into the White House as a true liberal and do whatever he wants. But then he didn't really. So I mean, she might sort of play along to get along or whatever it is. But the pressure never recedes. In the White House, you have more people pressuring you to suck up to Wall Street and stuff like that. So if she's not willing to do it now, and she doesn't, at least in her statements and in some of the amendments that she's been proposing, she doesn't seem like she is totally willing to toe the party line. But when she gets into the White House, they're going to be pushing advisors on her, and she's going to be in meetings with them.
No, but guys, look, I think asking for much more other than to actually run is a little unrealistic under the circumstances. She's marshaled up 42 Democratic senators to push for more Social Security. That's an amazing accomplishment. She got the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau all on her own. Barack Obama sat on his hands the entire time he's been in the Senate and asked for Joe Lieberman's advice. Okay? So Warren hasn't done that. And by the way, this story is an excellent indication that Elizabeth Warren is for real. The bankers didn't complain about Barack Obama. In fact, the bankers were the #1 financial supporters of Barack Obama during the 2008 election, okay? So when the bankers say, we will stop all money to the entire Democratic Party if you don't get Elizabeth Warren under control, that means Elizabeth Warren is for real, and they're scared of her, which is a fantastic thing. When's the last time the people who were in power and were causing the income inequality and causing the rigging of the system and this obvious, patent corruption in the system actually feared anyone in politics? That hasn't happened for a long, long time. So that's why you know she is actually representing the people and doing a hell of a job, enough of a job to scare the establishment.